All right. Hello, everybody. It is me, Phil, and Lady Ada. We're doing a special interview and have a special guest. Everyone say hello to Helen. Hello, Helen.
Hi, it's great to be here.
Hello, Helen.
All right. And before Helen introduces herself, I want to do a little bit of a tour just so you get an idea. So we've been Helen super fans for years. If you go to the Adafruit blog, you can see all the things that Helen has done, past, present, and future, from iRobot to drones, to be an inspiration for lots of young folks out there, for women in tech, for leadership. Helen was a judge for the first ever Droney Film Festival. It was films made with drones. And Helen is also immortalized in R is for Robots, in our coloring book for kids that's free to download, but you can also pick up a copy. And we have all sorts of interesting robots throughout history. And we also, of course, have I is for iRobot. And before we got started on this video, I had asked Helen to fact check me. Helen is the first human that was next to a robot, the robot to ring the NASDAQ bell.
That's right. When we took iRobot public, we turned down the opportunity to ring the opening bell and let the robots do it.
All right. So I hope that was an okay intro, but Helen, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, well, I'm a robot person. I went to MIT to study robots, and afterwards, yeah, there we go. Afterwards, I co-founded iRobot with Rod Brooks and Colin Angle. And long story short, we put the Roomba vacuuming robot on the market, and it's sold over 30 million of them now, and it's 20% of the North American vacuum market today. Not the robot vacuum market, but it's 20% of the vacuum market. So robots have come a long way. And now I did some drone work at a company doing drones. I've worked for the Pentagon in a general level position, like the position of a rank of a general, civilian. Wow. And now I'm working as the CEO of Tertill, which is a really exciting company.
Yeah,
that's cool. So you not only have personal clearance, but you also work on robots that have to deal with clearance. So you've got clearance problems in all sorts of ways.
The robots in mine and bomb clearance.
Okay, all right. See, it's all clearance here.
Everyone knows what a Roomba is. It's like a household name. Even iRobot, a lot of people know about it. It is one of those things where, like, household robots, this idea that people would have a robot in their homes, you're one of the people who helped make that happen. And 20% of all vacuums, that's amazing.
In North America, yeah.
In North America. So obviously you weren't satisfied with that, and you're like, where else can I have a robot friend? And that's one little segue I wanted to mention. Is one of the cool things that I've always admired about your approach, and a lot of people who you work with, is something that we say at Adafruit: make robot friend. Mm-hmm. And like, these are always helper robots. They're always trying to help you do something. It's maximizing you as a person. And vacuuming is fun, sure, but like, why do it every day if a robot can help you out?
Vacuuming's fun.
Well, I mean, like, for the first time, it's like, this is great. And then after that, it's like, no. And then we saw the education robots, and now Root is part of iRobot. And then when we had emailed and you said, hey, check out the new thing that I'm CEO of, and I'm going to show the site in a second. There's another place where you can have a robot friend. And this one's even, I think, the next chapter, because it'll help you grow food that you can eat. So tell us a little bit about Tertill.
Well, Tertill is the garden weeding robot. It's a robot that you put in your garden. It has a solar cell on it, so you don't need to charge it up. And it lives in your garden. It comes out.
Hold it up.
I'm sorry?
Hold it up.
It comes out every day, and it does the weeding. So it runs on sunlight, and it controls your garden for weeds. The way it gets weeds is a little bit, it takes stepping back and thinking about it. It has microscopic wheels, so it disrupts the germination process, and then it's got a weed whacker. So any weed that dares pop its little head up, whack.
Yeah.
And instead of going and pulling weeds, which is the wrong way to do the job robotically, it prevents weeds. And it turns out this is the right way to do the job. I've had one in my garden for the past 2 years. And I just jumped in as CEO of the company because I loved it so much that, I used to go out to my garden with my 5-year-old, right? And I'll get distracted weeding and she'd get bored and wander off because it wasn't that much fun just weeding. But now I go with her and, you can, concentrate on the planting, on the growing, on the harvesting, and the fun stuff about it without just being faced with a jungle of weeds when you go out. So I think it's a lot like the Roomba in that it just takes away a hated, for most people, chore, except Phil.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because it's such a interesting approach because you only want to spend your time on the things that matter. Just like, if something spills in your home, you'll clean it up. But day to day, you just want to have maintenance.
Yes.
That does things. So what was the genesis of this? You're now the CEO. Mm-hmm. You said you had one for a couple of years. Not only you're a customer, but now you're the CEO. What was the original idea behind this? Gardening was something that people would do, but they would detach off from it because they're like, I'm not going to weed. I did it for 6 months and then forget it.
Well, I'll go back a little bit in history. Joe Jones was our first employee at iRobot, and he invented the Roomba. As I said, iRobot's a long story, but we were working on it for many years. We did robots for all kinds of applications, like downhole oil, toys and games with Hasbro, large cleaning robots, museums. We did law enforcement. We did military, like so many different kinds of robots. But Joe said to us, hey, this large cleaning robot, it's kind of the most complicated thing you could make. I think would be better served if we did the simplest thing. And there he is. And that approach was really powerful for iRobot, right? And we started to prototype it. And every time we prototyped some, it kept working. And we couldn't think of a reason why it wouldn't work. So we put it on the market and the rest is history. He left iRobot to start another company called Harvest Automation. So he got a lot of experience with working with plants in the outdoors and working with nurseries, plant nurseries. He left that company and he was in his garden and thinking about, why am I spending all my time weeding it? And so he came up with the Tertill. But it really took flipping the thing around. Like the initial thought of, can I make a robot that pulls up weeds? That's a really, really hard robot task. But when he flipped it around, can I prevent weeds with a robot? It turns out that's the right way to do the job. And then they formed a company. They had a very successful Kickstarter in the top 1%. But now the Tertill's on the market, and we've shipped thousands of them to gardens across the country.
And that's just being able to ship a Kickstarter is mm-hmm. kind of like that. That's already you're in the top 1%. Anyways, yeah. Especially for hardware ones. And so when someone gets one of these, I know when we have in our other apartment, we had a Roomba. What we did is we made our apartment better because the Roomba would be able to go to more places. So when you're using your garden, do you plan like, okay, now I'm gonna have a robot helper. So do you plan your garden to have paths for where the robot's gonna continue to keep the weeds mulched? I guess it turns it into a mulch, right? As like basically a fertilizer because it
So that's exactly right. When we first put the Roomba on the market, a lot of people came to me and said, but it doesn't get everywhere. It doesn't get on the stairs. I've got some furniture that's too low. It doesn't get there. And some of those never used it. But now people kind of get it, right? It does most of the job. So you don't have to spend a lot of time doing it. You probably still have to go around once a week or so and sweep up the places that the Roomba doesn't get. It's the same thing with the Tertill, right? Most of the seeds are planted 12 inches apart. The Tertill's only 8.5 inches. If you have a row of small plants like carrots, it doesn't get in between them, so you still would have to pick some weeds out of that. But you don't have to weed the entire rows and between the tomatoes and the peppers and stuff. It's just such a time savings device that we have out there. We've been doing product market surveys, and over 90% of the people say the new question is product market fit. Would you be disappointed, very disappointed, or not not care if we took the turtle away, and 90+% say that they would be disappointed or very disappointed. So it's really, once people have it installed in their garden, you wouldn't want to try and pry it away from them.
Okay, cool. All right, well, I was going to ask some techie questions because I'm not actually a roboticist, I got to admit, but that also makes me ask good robotics questions because I don't know what I don't know. So you got the robot and the turtle. It has these 4 wheels on the bottom, and like it's kind of interesting. They're like at an angle, and then they've got these grooves, and so that means it can get like a good grip on soil, right?
Yes, and it does a skid steer, which means that the dirt has to be moved around, which is what gives the micro-tilling action with the cleated wheels. That's the first step. But the second step is this weed whacker that comes on periodically and spins. It also has sensors on it. So it's got capacitive sensors. So it detects if it's near a plant, which is amazing. So it's very gentle on plants and fierce on the.
So it's got 120 or 250 individual capacitive sensing strips, and then plants are wet. It bumps into a plant, and it like knows where it bumped into the plant, or is it just like one
plate? We only need to know whether it should go this way or that way.
So there's like 10 capacitive sensors or something.
I wouldn't like to say the exact amount, but
okay. Somebody can open it up if they want to find out.
Different kinds. Oh, there's over a dozen different kind of sensors on the robot.
Does it do like any radar or lidar?
It doesn't, and maybe we'll go.
They're expensive
one day. But remember, we're in the dirt and the muck and the mud. It's not like you can take a Roomba and put it in your garden, right? Most of the sensors that are active, sending out a signal, could get blocked if it gets muddy, and camera lens could get muddy. So I think these problems will be solved. For example, the auto industry with its self-driving cars have been making little cleanable cameras.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying never, but right now this is
you have to the simplest solution, right? That's what you're looking for, and the whole thing must be waterproof, right? Because it sits in the garden outside, and it gets rained on. And
and we put sprinklers on it, right? So we're
yeah, no, I mean it's a garden. What happens if I know people are gonna engineers are gonna be like, but what if I always love I had a friend with a solar wristwatch, and somebody was like, well, what if it's dark out? And it's like, well, it doesn't have to charge all the time. But what happens first off if you're in England and it's just cloudy all the time? Can you charge it? Is there a charging port? Does it tell you? Does it send you an SMS hey, I got to charge?
I have to admit, since I was born in England, I know what you mean.
That's the only thing I know about England. It's rainy, so that's good for it's great for planting, but it's not sunny like solar sunny.
So the solar cell is you have days here where there's no hardly any sun out. And, you even have a few days, but the turtle actually gets some sunlight and it will come on periodically. So it still usually does the job.
Yeah.
Also, we don't drive the battery down to a very low charge. So eventually it'll see that it's not running and it'll go even lower. But we're very gentle on our batteries by keeping them at a high charge, turning off, waiting till they charge up, and then cycling, going up and down. Yeah. It works throughout the day in case there's periods of low sunlight. So we don't have it go and sleep in a potentially spot that stays dark. They really have taken a systems approach to it and figured out how to accommodate the changing shadows and the sunlight and the times of day.
So the battery inside there, it's I'm assuming a big lithium polymer battery, like a big battery pack or something. But so you're saying sorry, is there a way to charge it? Is there a USB-C port or no?
There is a little USB port on the.
Okay, so you can't, if you were like, oh man, I really need to go in, you can just charge it up. Yeah. Although you don't want to.
We one of the things we love about it is completely autonomous. You can leave it in your garden and the job. I mean, I would check on it, once in a while to make sure it's still,
And in the video there was an app, and is it like a Bluetooth app or Wi-Fi? How does it send you data?
Bluetooth connection to the robot. You have to be reasonably close to it, and that's how we can push code. And that's just the first part. That's what we're delivering today. But there's so many exciting functions we can add to that, which gets me excited. We'll talk about them today.
Wait, so you do or you don't want to?
No, I don't think we can talk about.
Okay, no, that's fine. No, there's future stuff. So you download this app, I guess, for iOS or Android, and you pair with it over BLE, and then it can give you like status updates. It tells you like how long it ran and like if it needs help or something. Like what happens if like it's really muddy and it gets stuck? Can it call for help? Like this poor robot.
We can't do that today because with the Bluetooth connection, you have to be reasonably close to your garden, and you can just see it then.
Yeah,
You
that's
can
true.
imagine in the future as we extend the connectivity, it could do those kinds of things. So it doesn't really give status updates. It really is pushing the code. You can, if you're interested, you can read some of the sensors on the app, but that's more for the technically minded, which are people watching the
Well,
show.
for most people, they're in their garden once a week anyways. It's not like this is some like farming robot that's like out in the middle of nowhere and you're like, you never see it. Basically, This is like it's in your garden.
Me and my daughter go visit the turtle all the time to make to say hi.
They're your little buddy. That's cool. And so it does this little like weed whacking thing. Does it have its own algorithm for how it does the path, or do you program it and tell it like here's my garden and here's how to traverse it? Or
Well,
it's autonomous.
It's pre-programmed. Like the original Roombas, it's a local sensor-based intelligence. So it's it's doing some things like following the edges and the escape behaviors, and it's got a lot of intelligence on board.
Does it remember? Like, oh, I'm in the same garden, or is it like every time it starts up, it's a totally new day?
It doesn't have a global positioning system on it. It doesn't have a global navigation system on it.
No, I know it doesn't have GPS, but I'm saying like because I don't even know the internals of like how like most robot vacuums or whatever scrubbers work. I'm saying like if you put it in your garden and it like it goes around and it does a little path. Next time it starts up, does it like remember the path that it just did? It's like totally fresh every time.
Unless you do that really well, which will take, I mentioned the problems with the active sensors and the lasers and stuff like that. Unless you can do that really well, it's usually the wrong approach. And it's the wrong approach because it will leave dead spots. If you have a local sensor-based approach, you're much more likely to get the whole thing. And we make up for that because it always just runs, and it runs several times a day for, 10, 20 minutes at a time, and then it does it again later. So it always gets to places where the sun's good. It actually has a little algorithm where it tries to find a sunny spot to sit in.
Oh, that's so cute.
You can't guarantee that, right? You can't guarantee because shadows change and stuff, right?
Yeah. No, that's adorable. Yeah, but it's like it definitely is like if it's in a shady spot, it's like I don't want to sit here. I'm going to keep looking, right? Probably has like some, it's like keep like move a little bit to the left. Okay, it's a little bit sunnier, and then keep moving to the left. It's like max PowerPoint tracking, but physical.
It can remember where it's seen sunlight in the local and make sure
cool.
Kind of a level, but I don't want to go too much into that.
No, look, I'm an engineer, so I'm asking on behalf of the engineers. Speaking of, is there going to eventually be a way to hack this, and maybe like there's with the Roomba hacking port, which Phil and I have abused greatly. Is there eventually going to be a way to do that?
I would love there to be. There isn't today. I pushed and did the Roomba open interface originally, and the create robots that people can take what we got with the manufacturing, which is the really low cost base, and pushed it out who can really so everyone doesn't have to start on the hardware, because the problem with starting on the hardware is many people never get past the hardware. They never get to some of the fun stuff in the software. So try to do that to make it so people could start thinking about the software and then maybe take on improvements to the hardware. So I really think that helped a lot of people get beyond the physical and kind of combine the physical with the intelligence aspects. So I'd like there to be, there isn't today.
Yeah, people, people love that it was like, oh, the drivetrain's done, the battery is done, like, it can move and turn and stuff, like all the really hard parts in robotics. Like, I mean, everything is hard in robotics. So it's kind of tough to say like one thing is hard. So when it drives over a weed, I saw it like pause. How does it know? Is there like capacitive sensing underneath, and it can feel the leaves? Or like, how does it know that it's over a weed?
The micro-tilling sensors are also working. And at first we used to, with the capacitive sensors, detect there's a weed and go and get it. And it still does that.
Yeah.
But if we've discovered over time that just turning on the whacker periodically, it actually gets better results because some of the weeds are too low for the capacitive sensors.
Ah.
I didn't say it already, but what the reason it doesn't chop down your plants is you protect them with this.
Yeah, no, I saw the little video. You have a little thing and it like, bumps into it and it knows. It's very sensitive.
You don't need that. If you get your plants from a nursery, like if you bring home tomatoes, you won't need any of that because if something's about over 2 inches tall, it will no longer touch it. It only thinks of things that are low as weeds.
It reminds me a little bit, Phil and I, we went and saw, Phil, what was the name of that robot with the arms that was like, the whole point was it was like the safest robot and it would never.
Yeah, it was, I think Ronnie Brooks had, it was the one that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was the one, yeah, they were saying like, hey, Adafruit, maybe you should get one to help do kitting. And while that wasn't the application that we were thinking of, it was really neat to see that, and a lot of, you could tell how much just went into it to make sure it doesn't hurt people. Like it was like it was a safety robot that just happened to do other things. You have to,
the optimization here. It's interesting. It's like you optimize for. I mean, the turtle can't ever crush somebody's plant because it's like their child, right? They raise this plant.
It's like the plant is over 2 inches tall. If it is a little young, just like you'd put the baby in a car seat, you put this around it, and the turtle won't go near it.
But that's something that you have to think about a lot. Like it's okay if it misses a weed once in a while, but it can never ever crush a plant.
I mean, they've done such a bang-up job on the engineering. The capacitive sensors, they work really well to detect plants. In my garden, it goes and it touches some of the leaves and then it backs off and it goes around.
No.
And the great thing about it is like when plants have put out these leaves, they're usually blocking the weeds, right? Because they don't photosynthesize. So as the plants get more leafy, it doesn't have to go all the way underneath.
Yeah. I have a question for the Roomba, just because I that people have taken apart, but I don't remember. Like, how would it? There was like a little like a switch. There was like a bumper.
Yeah.
Or did it ever use like the motor positioning feedback? Like, hey, I tried to move and I didn't move, so obviously something's in my way.
No, we do, yeah.
You do it on the turtle as well. It has like.
Yeah, we are looking at the inertial sensors and the current in the motors.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like it's such a good idea. It's like you want to move, you try to move, you don't move. What kind of motors are they? DC, servo, or stepper?
We greatly believe in redundant sensing, sensor fusion of all these modalities to get more and more intelligent behavior.
What's that like little gray thing on the top?
That's just a push button on/off switch.
Oh.
Just turn it on and it. But also, if you go to your garden, you want to show people, you can have it go.
And so, as far as the packages that are available, when you first sent this to me, I thought it was going to be a lot more expensive. So you can get going for $349, which, if you think about the time that you save, and then also the fact that gardening is like one of those things, like it's like going to the gym or exercising. Even though it takes time, you eventually get time. So you get like nutritious vegetables. Eventually, you get flowers. You get something that you're proud of with the garden. You have time that you're spending with, like you were saying, you're spending with your daughter. Right. It'll be interesting to see. There's so many people buying houses now because they're like, well, if I'm going to be stuck at home for a while, let me start, getting a house and let me have a little tiny garden. So $349 is a deal. You also have one where you can put a little mustache and a face on it, and then you have the plant guard. So tell me about some of the different SKUs. That's how we talk at Adafruit. What would make you decide to get one over the other as far as?
There's one with a mustache.
Okay, the weeding robot is the basic model. Gift givers bundle, got some more of the accessories in it. And the garden in a box actually comes with some seeds, so you can it's a garden in a box. But the one we're really excited about, which we are announcing today, is the Grow Together bundle. And what we've done is you get the basic turtle, but we put together these fun family activities that teach you about robots and teach you about gardening. And we do it on a subscription, but it's a free subscription. It's all in the $3.99.
Yeah.
And every week we're going to send you a fun activity about learning about robots. So Joe Jones, who I mentioned, he was actually an author of the book Mobile Robots from Implementation to Inspiration, and he's put together the robot learning activities, and they're real. What I love about this is kids know what's real, right? They don't want a toy. They want to learn about real robotics. And this is describing the turtle, describing how it works in real terms, from a, one of the best inventors in the robot field. And then some of our know-how on gardens, how plants grow, like how seeds grow, how they germinate, etc. And do that once a week. It's a great Christmas gift for the whole family. And we've also added these cool little decals so you can personalize your turtle. And craft kits, like, you've got crafty kits as well, and plant tags that you can make with acrylic markers and stuff. And a garden planner, so you can plan the garden, because planning and mapping, that's an important part of it, what you're going to grow, how to space them. And we also like to, let people know that the best spacing is so the turtle can go in between.
Yeah, this is great, because it's not just, love me some Roomba, but you didn't have a subscription thing, or like, let's explore the history of cleaning.
Exactly.
It's a very different value.
We would have done it if we could have. We would have done it if we could have.
Yeah, but I like this because it seems like when robotics and technology works well, it's something that can bring people together.
Yeah.
And the fact that you'd have this robot friend, you'd get something every week, grow together is a great idea. And also, things change throughout each season. So some parts of the year you might grow something different than another part of the year. And this is only $3.99. This is a really good deal.
It really came together because parents gave us input that they want to get their kids into gardening. And I know, as a robot person, robots are the catnip to get kids into.
You can literally grow catnip now.
What's that?
You can literally grow
catnip.
catnip.
It's a gateway drug, but it probably wouldn't have been appropriate.
Yeah.
You get the kids who love robots. I mean, I meet so many kids who just love robot technology, but you also want to get them learning about how plants grow, how they germinate, when you plant them, how you accustom them. If you start growing them inside, how do you accustom them to acclimatize them to the outside, and not just the cold, but also the light for photosynthesis. If you put them out too quickly, they go brown, and all kinds of things to help people who may not have a grandma around to to tell them how to make their garden flourish.
Yeah, one of the things that Phil and I have chatted about is like, how 4-H and robotics actually goes really well together. Like people studying like agriculture or wanting to grow plants or care for plants or animals, robots are already a big part of that, and they're becoming a bigger and bigger part. Like robotics is so essential to the food system, and people usually don't think of it that way. They think like, plants and robots, how do they mix? It's like, well, they mix quite a bit, because there's so much repetitive work, and that repetitive work, it's like, there's even a saying like, weeding is back-breaking work. It's really hard work, and it's not the most enjoyable part of gardening, right? The part that's enjoyable is like seeing this plant grow up and fruit, and then eating delicious tomatoes. So it'll be interesting to see how the turtle and, you've seen agricultural drones and agricultural robots, how these two seemingly disparate studies are really combining together. We'll see, definitely going to see more robots out in the field, literally.
One of the things that happened is the Cornell School of Agriculture took the Roombas, the turtles, and they studied them. And it turns out they found out that it's as effective as hand weeding. This new method of weeding is as effective as
robo weeding. Yeah.
It makes sense too, because you want something on a regular basis to consistently chop up organic matter to make the soil better.
Yes.
Over and over and over again. And if you can have your garden organized, not even well, just organized in some way, it'll have a path for the turtle. And then I think the educational component, and that's a hard thing to study, but I think that'll probably be like the surprise hit with this. If you have young people and they're using technology like robotics to grow food, that's our future. I mean, like 9 billion people, we need more engineers and scientists who think about things like this. And the idea that you combine this with the educational side is absolutely brilliant. So congratulations
Thank
Helen
you.
and team. This is really good.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. I have one more question. Do you think that folks that, because I know that there's some people who really don't like to use like weed killers in their gardening. Does this mean that you don't have to use a weed killer? Like you can just have this go through your garden every day or every other day? Like, is that going to reduce?
Yes, absolutely. I would never put weed killer in my vegetable garden, and I think a lot of people are like-minded. So you put this in, even weed blocks, right? It's very unnatural. Things don't decay under them. If they don't get oxygen, nature works. We should keep it working. You're adding the robot on top, and it's the right way to get rid of weeds, right? Once they go, they take the nutrients out of the soil, moisture out of the soil, and you have to throw it away. Then you have a disposal issue. Preventing them from going, it's just the right thing to do.
Yeah.
All right, so folks can go to tertill.com, TERTILL.com, and today I guess this is the world premiere on Adafruit. We'll be publishing all the information, but the kit to get, especially now before the holidays, is the Tertill Grow Together bundle, and you get a subscription with that. Anything else you want to tell folks about this so they can go out and do this? Is there a hashtag? Should they share their beautiful gardens online?
Only with or without a turtle, gardening is great fun and good for you and can bring your family closer together.
It's definitely better than watching the TV nowadays, that's for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Helen. And we'll continue to check in. Maybe you can come to our show and tell that we do on Wednesday nights once in a while and let us know some updates. Or if you see something really interesting, your team can tag us because we definitely want to celebrate more robot friends doing things with people together. And I think this is the first chapter. When Lamore and I met over a Roomba, literally, we made a Roomba frogger and we put in traffic. But I remember, this was,
I remember.
yeah.
How many beers were involved in that?
Yeah, there was a lot of things that were going on that day at South by Southwest. But I remember thinking at the time that this was just the beginning of robots in our lives and our homes. And with Tertill, there's so many things that are going to be possible down the road. It might plant seeds, it might water, it might do all these things. And the kids that are learning about this now are going to be the ones who probably invent it.
Exactly.
Yeah, your daughter is planting seeds literally in the ground and probably in her head that are going to grow into something amazing. So thanks so much for being on brand. Like when I think of Helen, I think of robots that make lives better.
No, you definitely have a thing, right? You're not.
Yeah.
But it's a good thing, and it's a thing that makes my own life better. I mean, I love turning on my Roomba 3 times a day because I've got a 5-year-old. I'm not having to worry about it, having the father come out and mop, having the turtle in my garden and not having to do it. Just robots make life better.
All right. Well, I'm going to ask one last question because I don't get to talk to so many visionary roboticists on a daily basis. Is there something that down the road you'd like to see a robot to help people that hasn't been made yet? Is there something like, oh yeah, one day the tech will be there, one day, because I know Roomba had a floor washing robot, there was the gutter, it would do things. Now there's a gardening thing. Is there anything is there a car washing robot? Is there something that you're just like, one day?
There's so many for me. Like, I'm a big believer in drone delivery. Get the stuff instantly, instant gratification on that. I've been thinking about the outdoor space. What about the leaves? What about the snow? I know there are already robot lawnmowers, and also just in the gardens itself. Like, there's so many more things we could help with that we're not yet. Like, how do you get that beautiful, bountiful harvest that you want? So we're doing the weeding today, but there's a lot of space to open to them.
Yeah, like
but you can have a camera and it can tell you, here's a photo of a ripe fruit, go pick it.
Yeah, or is this a helpful bug or is it something that you need to
watch out for? Yeah,
lots of
like aphid detection or
lots of machine learning opportunities as all these devices get smarter and smarter. Why not analyze the bugs that are there too?
Exactly.
So that's a really neat glimpse of the future. Thanks for indulging my robot curiosity. All right, Helen. Well, thank you so much. Continue to keep making amazing robots and make our lives better.
She's never going to stop.
Thank you.
All right.